Welcome to another episode of Industry Talk Podcast. Everyone, what's up? I'm your host, Jazz the CEO. Like I said, welcome to another episode. This episode is brought to you by me because I'm the one that hooked everything up, got live, and doing my thing. So this episode is brought to you by me. So shout out to me. Shout out to Jazz the CEO, who is the host and sponsor of this episode. All right, so somebody go on YouTube and make sure you can hear me. Yeah, make sure you can hear me. I just want to make sure I'm trying this new. I'm trying this new microphone, so I'm trying to make sure the microphone is working the right way. It says active, so let's see. Yeah, test, test, test. All right, so it should be working, right? I don't know. What's up, Lauren? All right. So hopefully YouTube can hear me because I got this new. It's it feels cool, but I'm gonna have to hang up on either Facebook or Instagram and go figure out if people can hear me or not. I tested it out this morning, so it should be working. So, all right. I got like four cameras on right now, so it's pretty cool. What you can't see Facebook and Instagram is the cigar of the day. I'll throw it in each camera. Do, 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 do. So YouTube, the cigar of the day is the Diesel. Okay, the Diesel Whiskey Row made by Rabbit Hole. Diesel Whiskey Row bourbon barrel aged. So the cigar was aged in bourbon barrels. And I like aged cigar. Give you that, that you need that like a seasoned man. Y'all ladies know a good old seasoned man that got his head on his shoulders. That's what a good aged cigar tastes like right there. How do I know? I don't know. I just watch a lot of movies and TV. I've never had a good seasoned man. But maybe it's just as good as a good seasoned woman. Who knows? All right. So apparently someone told me that this is actually a bourbon as well. So I have about three or four of these, so I'm going to look for the matching bourbon. All right, so check it out, YouTube. Here's your close-up shot with my new camera. You like that? Yeah. That's to show you all the products that we'll be featuring on the show. This new angle is to show you the whiskey of the day or the bourbon of the day, and also the cigar of the day. So as you can see, there's a close-up. So in my glass, which you guys don't see on Instagram and Facebook, is I'm doing coffee today. Eyes tired, so I'm doing coffee. So we got a new screen, we got a new little camera angle, and it's gonna be what if we're talking about somebody's business, and I got their business card or I got their product, or we're featuring something, a firearm or whatever. I'm gonna put it on this new angle. So y'all make sure that y'all watching on here. Make sure y'all hit the YouTube and watch it on there too. All right, so put me back on screen. All right, so as I'm gonna cut this, we're gonna jump into our topic of the day. And I want to give a couple of disclaimers about our topic of the day. Um, I'm going to toast the foot first. So we're going to bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. So I'm going to toast the foot. Just so you take the lighter, you kind of take it away from the foot of the cigar, twirl the cigar around, toast the foot. For those who couldn't see, I'm going to take off the lower banner. If my flame is high, like it is, because I just fueled it up, then you just want to kind of take it away from the foot and just toast it. Oh, I hate that when you cut it and some of the wrapper comes off. Now, these were given to me by a friend, officer on my team, student, etc. Okay. Ooh. That is a strong stogie right there. So let me put it back in my new angle here. I'm trying to get an even thing. I used just a regular torch lighter here, a flat face cutter here. I got for like free from Tobacco Leaf in Maryland for buying a bunch of cigars all at one time. This is a strong cigar. Beautiful smoke right off the bat. I had to talk about this one in my cigar Bible. This is amazing. Amazing. Woo. In case you're wondering, before I do the show, my smoke alarm is disconnected. All right. I'm not used to having this little, I'm a truck driver, mic on, so I gotta get used to that. Woo! I might get up and go get the cigar Bible right now. I might just jot down my notes. Like, oh god, tastes like black pepper, oil. I don't know, or like slick oil, 90 proof back end. Oh man, y'all should grab y'all one of these. Okay, let me read it again. What it is? It is a diesel whiskey row barrel, bourbon barrel aged by Rabbit Hole. Mm. Now I really want to try the whiskey because this is yeah. Now what I've been doing lately is I've been using my cigar. I talked about this a little bit, but you put it on the end of your stogie and it stops you from getting those black lips. So, and it's a magnet. If I had some metal right here, I could show you, but you could just stick it to anything that's metal. So I actually use it a lot when I'm in the car driving so that the cigar is not sitting in my car just smoking it up. It's sitting on the side of the car. It is just like you smoke it. Really good. Really good. Let me show YouTube. Just put it on the tip of your cigar. Looks pretty cool. All right. I gave everybody a couple minutes to join, a couple minutes to get in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So uh, today's topic is domestic violence, but it's not just domestic violence. It's really I was going to talk about peace and protective orders, but I don't think you can talk about peace and protective orders without talking about domestic violence, and that's how the domestic violence came into play. So, if you're on here, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. If you are watching the show, this show is not for victim bashing, victim blaming, telling a victim what they should and shouldn't do, what you would and wouldn't do. Because if you're not in that situation or have never been in a situation like that, you actually really don't know what you're going to do. I can definitely say what I'm going to do, but I've had a situation where a person definitely went too far with their hands. And, I wouldn't call it an abusive relationship, but other people would say, hey, that's abusive. And if you're in a relationship, that's an abusive relationship. So I'll share that story a little bit in a little bit. But for right now, I just want to make that disclaimer that we're not here to victim shame, victim blame, tell a victim what they should and shouldn't do. We can share what we think. That's great, but we definitely want to be sensitive to the fact that this show and the comments and the people watching are all over the place in all walks of life and going through all different kinds of situations in life as well. So you never know who's on this line, and you don't want to say nothing insensitive. because I'm a very insensitive person. So I know for sure when I decided that I was going to talk about this subject, that I was going to watch my mouth, because sometimes I come off a little harsh and I don't even mean it. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do mean it. But today, we are all going to bind our manners. If you haven't seen that meme where it's going, you're going to go in here, you're going to act like you got some sense, you ain't going to say shit, you ain't going to, the Mike Epps joint, y'all need to watch that. In case you were wondering what this says, it says there is no such thing as a girl gun. These are available. I will send you the link if you would like one. But this is my cup. That's my name at the bottom. My guns at the bottom. There's no such thing as a girl gun. All right. As you know, I'm on this campaign to teach people how to protect themselves. Oh, it's just coffee in the cup today. I've been working all weekend and it is catching up to me. And today was supposed to be my off day, and I did a little work and I worked out, and so now I'm like, I gotta stay up till 7 o'clock to do the show. All right, so cool. Test, test, test. I mean, I can hear me. I hope they can hear me. That'd be rude if they couldn't. Anyway, let's go to settings and just double check. How about that? Stream video audio. Y'all, guess what? Hold up. Right. Apply. I think. Okay. Y'all, guess what? YouTube couldn't hear shit I said. Oh my God. Y'all hold on. Let me go to YouTube and tell them what's up. YouTube, I'm so sorry that you couldn't hear me for the first half of this, but welcome to Industry Talk Podcast, the podcast about always how to protect yourself in all ways throughout this industry, whether it's PI, security, your bouncer, bodyguard, process serving, etc. And then, especially for the individuals who just want to know how to protect themselves in regular life. Today, we're not drinking, we're going to drink coffee, and we're smoking on a diesel. What we smoking on? What did I say this was, y'all? We're smoking on a diesel by Rabbit Hole, diesel whiskey roll, bourbon barrel aged. Okay, now that's catching y'all up. The topic of today, YouTube, is domestic violence, peace orders, and protective orders. Will you need to get those? Things like that. Um, my disclaimer was that this show is not to victim blame, victim shame, tell a victim who may comment on what they would do or wouldn't do to make people feel bad about their situation. Because if we're not in the situation, we don't know. And you can't just be, telling people how they should handle something you ain't got to handle. All right, so I think I got them pretty much caught up. I'll edit that later. Good thing about that. Oh wait, is live. I'll edit it and put the other version. Get the rabbit hole Sherry cast. Good smoke and drink. Man, so I just found out today that this was a whiskey. I've never heard of it before. So I have about three or two or three more of these. So I will be finding that rabbit hole, and I'm gonna look for the sherry cast because I really I like sherry, all because of Frasier. If you've never watched Frasier or you're too young to know that Frasier drank sherry every day, you're too young for me, bro. So don't slide in my DM. All right. Somebody said, okay, great. I'm listening. All right. So, boom. All right. So, here we go. So, I've been doing a little research on protective orders and peace orders. So I kind of got some information compiled here to give some tips and details and phone numbers and stuff like that. So I'm going to start with the phone numbers first, just like they do on them TV shows. All right. If you're experiencing domestic violence, you can call 1-888-880-7884 if you're experiencing any kind of domestic violence. So let's go about that. Any kind of domestic violence. Let's just say this. I know of a young man who put his hands on his aunt, pushed her, whatever, didn't want to listen, living under her roof, put his hands on, and he's a grown man, he's not a child, blase, blase, right? Just to go into that. I feel like that's domestic violence. I know that domestic violence is between you and a spouse, but I still think that family members and people like that, if you're domesticated together, you live together, if there's some sort of relationship, and especially, if you're putting your hands on the other person, to me, that's domestic violence. Now, you guys can comment and let me know if I'm wrong, but I think violence against anyone in your family, anyone under your roof is a problem. Um, and I'm not sure exactly, maybe a police officer watching can help me navigate through this. Now, I'm no expert. Let me put that down there too. All right. I'm no expert on this subject. I'm just someone who cares for other people. So I don't know how they categorize that, maybe just assault. But if you're domesticated with this individual, then yeah, okay. So somebody, thank you. It's family violence. So to me, not that it's all the same. I just mean, you shouldn't be family violence, domestic violence, shouldn't be doing any of that. A man putting their hands on a woman putting their hands on a man. We're going to get to that in 2 seconds. None of it. If somebody in your household is taking you to that point where you just want to slap somebody, you need to walk away. You need to get away. I've been in situations where I know the person has brought the worst out of me. And I had to go, you know what? I got to seesaw communication. And that was a work thing. Even in a relationship, somebody can bring out the worst in you. Not saying that it's that person's fault, but it's saying is you can't control yourself around that person. And if you start to feel that way or you start to think that way, then you need to take yourself out of the situation for their safety and yours. You don't want to be the one receiving it, and you don't want to be the one giving it. So just walk away, right? So, can women, I don't even know the word. Can women do domestic violence against men? Absolutely. I've seen women hit men and not expect to get hit back. Especially in the black culture, you see women hitting men, slapping men, punching men, pushing, mushing, and it's all on video. And then when they get hit back, they're like, oh my God, he hit a woman. Don't hit nobody you don't want to get hit back from. Now, I got a little brother, not so little anymore, way bigger than me, huge, like army, pop out. But when he was in high school, I was young and not really, super smart with law, whatever. I was like, yo, if she hit you, hit her back. But he knew that if some girl, woman, whatever hit him, all he gotta do is call me, because I'm hitting men or women. I don't care, but I also don't expect not to get hit back. And I'm only gonna lay hands if you lay hands on me or mine. So that's But it's difficult when nowadays, you know, women are hitting men at such a high rate. You just see it so much in these videos of these fights. People stand around and see the fight. They think it's entertainment. They post it on Facebook, and now it's a viral video. And then when the guy loses, he hits and punches you like you're a grown man. It looks really, really bad. But at the same time, we shouldn't be laying hands on anybody that we don't want to get hit back by. So it could go both ways. And that's not really domestic violence, but I'm sure it happens in households where women hit men. But that's just my example of me seeing a lot more women hit men. It's really in like these street fight videos, but I'm sure that it happens in the household between people who are in relationships with each other. So I got a question like, do you think domestic violence can a woman can do domestic violence on a man? And that's my take on that. Hell yeah. If you're hitting your spouse, it doesn't matter if you're the man or the woman. That's domestic violence. It's violent. It's violence. And you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, you just shouldn't be doing it because there's a lot of things that can happen. Uh, a lot of things that can happen. So that's my take on that question that I got in my inbox about can women do domestic violence on men? So the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE. SAFE. The Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence is 1-301-429-3601 or 1-800 MD helps. If anybody needs those numbers, the 24-hour domestic violence hotline, National Domestic Violence Hotline, Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence, if you need that information, you can DM me, inbox me, or comment below, and whatever you want to do. So that's just some, you know, some maintenance information. Now, I know that it's hard to get out of those situations. So I'm not actually going to take this podcast in that direction. I'm not going to give the this is what you should do, this is how you should leave, all of that. Never been through it. My parents didn't lay hands on each other. So I don't really know nothing about that. And I'm one to stay in my lane and I don't like to talk out of term. But I want to talk about after you have left, after you have gotten out of that situation. um After, let's talk about after, because I could talk about after. Okay, so before the law changed here in Maryland, you could only get a gun permit if you had a business, if you used to be police, um if you were a victim of a crime, or if you were a victim of domestic violence. And I bring that up to say this: that's how you know domestic violence is super, super important in the eyes of the law. But then I see cases where they make it so hard for the victim to get justice because of everything they have to prove. Everything they have to prove. And then you have some situations that end up, I tried to prove, I showed this, I did this, and now cops not doing nothing until the person is dead. I don't know all the details, but there was a situation, I believe it was in Buffalo, but cops been called to the house multiple times. There was reports, there was this, there was a restraining order, and still police didn't arrest him, and he ended up killing her and some kids, or killing her. Like, we gotta, as community, as family, as friends of people who are going through domestic violence, we gotta figure out something to do and not, take the person out. Because on movies, you see some of these viral videos like, yo, you put your hands on my sister, and then the dude's beating dude, up. And I don't condone violence, but you touch mine, I touch yours. So here's some things that in Maryland per se, um, you have to prove to get like a peace order or a protective order. I'm just gonna go run down the list. Just go run down the list for y'all. Once you have determined the type of order which you may qualify, that's what I'm talking about. I gotta qualify. If I said somebody did something, you gotta qualify for these different orders. It's not as simple as just going down there and just getting the order out on the person. I actually thought it was, honestly. You then must prove that one of the following acts have occurred. Acts marked with an asterisk are covered only by peace orders and not by protective orders. So here we go. An act that caused serious bodily harm, obviously, hitting, trying to hit you with their car, hitting you with an object, you got black eyes, you got whatever. An act that placed the petitioner in fear or imminent harm. So some of these viral videos we see where somebody pulled out a gun and is waving it and is saying, "You scared, ain't you? Duh, 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 duh. Don't make me, I'm a." Now let's say it ended there. Bro, that's domestic violence. It could be verbal, it could be physical, it could be mental. If you're watching this and you don't know what you're receiving, I'm here to tell you that just like I tell you to protect yourself in all these different ways, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, the same way I'm saying protect yourself is the same way you could actually be being harmed. You can actually be in financial abuse. I'm going to give you an example. You get with somebody, they figure out to take your car, they figure out a way to take your home, move you, isolate you, don't have to work, but they don't even got no money like that, but they don't want you going out. They don't want you hanging with friends, co-workers, family, your own kids. Trust me, that has happened. They figure out a way for you to only rely on them financially and have to get driven by them in their car, even though you have your very own car. They take your keys. You don't know where they're at. They're in a safe. Some of this stuff might seem like chivalry at first, but it ain't. Some of this stuff may seem like you getting flued out and taken care of, but it ain't. When they finally get you cut off from the rest of the world, they have a clean slate to do whatever they want to do to you. Once they take your driving abilities, oh, let me, you know, I'll take you wherever you want to go. Let me get your keys, put them up. Then I'm going to get your car fixed. Getting your car fixed takes a month, 2 months, a year. You haven't driven yourself in a year, and now you're like, oh, that's right. I haven't driven myself. Now all your money is with their money, especially these people who aren't married. Okay. You don't have signing abilities on checks or can take money out without them telling you if you could take money out. Um, what else? Things like that, right? And if you start seeing this with your friend or your family member, these are red flags. These are signs that they're either in or about to experience a domestic violent type relationship, because it could be physically, financially, emotionally. Financially, taking all their money. They never have cash, no cards in their name, bank accounts taken over, they're living on an allowance, right? We get these things mixed up with being taken care of, but no, you're not being taken care of. You're being controlled. You're absolutely being controlled. So that's a financially, emotionally, making you feel like shit every day, all day long about anything. My water's not cold enough. Piece of shit. Can't do nothing right. Simple stuff like that. And everybody is different. Everybody has a different type of mentality, mental stabilization, strength emotionally and physically. So different things affect different people. Look at COVID. We had people who actually died from COVID. We have people who had it, didn't even know they had it, and no symptoms. We had people who had symptoms. This is the same thing. Every little affects everybody differently. So maybe you wouldn't have, and you wouldn't have, and somebody else will. So we have to be compassionate. So it's hard to prove that financially, emotionally stuff, right? So if you think this is happening, those are just some red flags that I know from personally like seeing it. Different cases I've been briefed on TV, all kinds of stuff. All right. So assault in any degree. That means anything. I got a friend whose ex-boyfriend plucked her. She said that was assault. He said that wasn't assault. In my mind, if you scared me and you're bigger than me and stronger than me and you plucked me and it hurt in the heat of our argument, it's assault. Keep your hands to yourself. Everybody's going to look at things differently. And people did. People, friends, family, they looked at stuff differently. You got people in my age range, 30 and up or whatever. And then you got people in an older age range who'll be like, just stay because they're used to different what is the word? They're used to different struggles. They're used to staying through struggles. 50s, 60s, 70s. Maybe not the 70s. Everybody was high. But 40s, 50s, 60s, they not breaking up. They staying no matter what. We not going for that nowadays. So yeah. So assault in any degree. If you feel like you're being assaulted, and I'm not just there's a viral couple that just broke up, LaTruth and Mrs. LaTruth. They broke up, they had issues, whatever. She claims he was abusive. The last thing that she said he did was he threw a like a tub, like a storage tub at her and put it on top of her, and it like cut her and gave her a little bruise. He claims he didn't do it. First he said he didn't do it at all, and she's claiming assault, and she's claiming domestic violence. She's claiming that this wasn't the only thing that's ever happened. um and my camera's acting a little, hold on y'all, acting like you don't want me to talk to y'all. Boop. All right. No, no, it doesn't like me. Hold on. All right. So he's saying it wasn't nothing. She's saying it is. If you throw something at someone and y'all together and married, it's violent. If it hit her and hurt her, if it hit him and hurt him, that's violent. Y'all domesticated. Domestic violence. I think sometimes we let stuff go and don't realize the severity of the situation because we trying not to be crying wolf or making a big deal, but you deserve to be safe in your house and your situation. So any degree, and I use 2 degrees that I know of, right? A bin getting thrown at you and your finger getting broke and a little scar. somebody plucking you in the heat of an argument. Those are both two different degrees, but in my opinion, they both domestic violence, both of them. To someone who did it, both guys like, I would never beat my wife or my girlfriend. I would never put hands. It's still violent if it hurts someone. That's my opinion. You can put your opinion down and we could talk about it. All right. Rape or sexual offense. Here's something. Oh, for real? From you, I'm listening because you know all the good cigars. BME Security. Y'all check him out. You're in Florida, right? Well, this cigar is banging, so I could just imagine the whiskey being good. Yeah, this cigar great. All right, all right. Sorry. Rape or sexual offense. Oh, Los Angeles. I'm sorry, Los Angeles, not Florida. I knew it was something with nice trees. That's all I knew. Um, Rape or sexual offense. Can a married man or woman, I'm not trying to be biased in this conversation, but can a married person rape their spouse? I'm going to let that simmer. I want to see some answers in the chat. Can a married person rape their spouse? I'm going to let that simmer and I'm going to keep going. All right. Attempted rape or sexual offense. So, just to break it down, what attempted means, that means I slap you, I throw you down, I try, then I don't. Or I do something else aggressive and I try, but I don't actually. I chase you and I try, but I don't actually. Means that the actual act didn't happen, but your intent, your words, your actions felt, seen, and said or showed that's what you were leading up to. Attempted. Attempted murder. I shot at you, but I missed you. I ain't murder you, but I sure did attempt to. All right. False imprisonment. False imprisonment. Man, like I want to look up the like freaking definition real quick of false imprisonment. Now, y'all supposed to be answering me. Do you think a husband or a wife can rape their husband or a wife? And what am I looking up? False imprisonment. False imprisonment. A person commits a misdemeanor if he or she knowingly restrains another unlawfully so as to interfere substantially with his or her own liberty. So restricts another person's movement within any area without legal authority, justification, or restrains person's permissions. Guess what? If I'm your wife or I'm your husband and you say I'm going to the store, and this could be boyfriend or girlfriend too. My bad. I don't mean to just keep saying married because domestic violence isn't a married people thing. It's a everybody thing. But if I'm telling you, you can't go to the store, you can't leave this house, you can't drive your car, you can't use the phone, you can't leave the bedroom, false imprisonment. If you're restricting my rights, my liberty, my whatever without legal authority, and being the husband and being the wife isn't legal authority. And I think some people be confused about that. All right. Criminal stalking. These are things that you have to prove to get a protective order in Maryland. Not sure about other states, but this is strict directly from the Maryland judiciary. These things that I'm naming and explaining are things that people have to prove. So if you're in a situation and you get the galls and the balls to go and report this stuff, they like, okay, but you gotta prove the serious bodily harm. So if somebody is smart enough to hit you where you don't bruise or do things to you that don't leave a bruise, you gotta still prove it, right? Then it's like, uh you got to prove that you were in fear of bodily harm or your life. Like, how I'm supposed to prove that? Video? You got to, excuse me, approve assault in any degree. So I got to prove that he poked me in the head. I got to prove she slapped me in the face. But, like, you got to prove it, and this discourages people from getting out of these situations. Now I do agree that proof should be had, because you can get people who just claim domestic violence just to get back at somebody from breaking up with them. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have some sort of protocol about how to figure out if this is right. People claim rape, it has happened, but it is very hard for a rape victim to get that person convicted because of the level of proving themselves to the court system that they have to go through. And it's so ridiculous. And a lot of people just don't even report it because they don't think they'll be believed because they had a drink, because they had a skirt on. So imagine a wife going and saying, my husband raped me, or a husband saying my wife raped me. Just trying to be politically correct here, folks. It's a touchy subject. Um, Criminal stalking. So basically, you telling me I gotta stalk my stalker to get you proof of the stalking? Crazy. Revenge porn. Well, I think people can pretty much prove that if someone leaked some pornography of you or you and them doing sex, you can actually report them, get a piece of protective order. Now it says okay, so here's what's only, so those things that I listed, you can get a protective order for. The things I'm about to list, you can only get a peace order for in Maryland: criminal harassment, criminal trespassing, malicious destruction of property, misuse, misuse of telephone facilities and equipment. So that's internet, telephone, text message, letters, um, misuse of electronic communication or interactive computer services, social media, email, and visual surveillance. So that's kind of like stalking. If you know somebody's taking photos of you or video of you or etc., you can get peace orders against them. Um, Here's another tip. If you are filing the petition for a minor child, you may be eligible for a protective order if any of the following apply to the minor child. So this is for people who have children maybe getting bullied. You know, maybe something's happening in the neighborhood. It could be a lot of things. Family members, parents. All right. You could get a protective order for on the behalf of a child if the minor child is currently or former, if the minor child is the current or former spouse. What? The minor child is the current or former spouse of the respondent. I guess if you have a 17 and under child who had an abusive girlfriend or abusive boyfriend, you can get a protective order out on their behalf, even if they don't want it. Because you know, these kids, if the minor child has had a sexual relationship with the respondent, a teacher, a grown person. I know a lot of people who've had relationships with people 10 years older than them and they was 15. you know, and people allowed it, you know. That's different generations do different things. Look at R. Kelly. The generation before me failed Aaliyah, okay? Failed. And now my generation, they didn't took R. Kelly, they didn't tip Bill Cosby, because the generations before us let them slide. I don't think we would have let them slide if we was like in the peak of they bush. I don't know. TikTokers probably would have took R. Kelly down a long time ago. All right. So, boop, boop, boop. If the minor child is related to the respondent by blood, marriage, or adoption, if the minor child is the step parent, that doesn't child or stepchild of the respondent or person eligible for relief and has resided. These are weird things. The minor child has had a sexual relationship with the respondent within 1 year before filing the petition. Within 6 months before filing the petition, the respondent committed rape or sexual offense or attempted rape or sexual offense against the minor child. I think it's weird that they put a timeline on this. Now, this stuff for children is considered domestic violence if it's a parent, step parent, spouse, or sibling. It's not family violence, it's domestic violence. That's interesting to know. All right. So let me see. Let me get, I got a little packet for y'all. I wanted to give some information. All right. Before I go into the aftermath, here is how you apply for a protective order if you're dealing with domestic violence. You ready? Step one, complete the correct petition. The correct forms that can be obtained at any circuit or district court clerk or court commissioner's office. Now, this is Maryland steps, but I'm sure other state steps are the same or close to it. But this, at least for people who are not in Maryland, will give you an idea of your options and what you have to go through. File the petition during normal business hours. You can contact the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services for 18 or younger. Once the petition is filed, you'll be directed into a courtroom as soon as a judge is available to hear your case. So the judge can hold a temporary hearing. Third, appear for your temporary hearing. You will be required to answer questions under oath during your temporary hearing. If the judge, so you got to put in the petition, see a judge during a hearing, and then the judge gets to decide whether or not it's reasonable grounds to believe the respondent has committed these acts that you have alleged in the petition. So that's where what we talked about as far as proof, that's where that comes in. You have to prove to a judge during your temporary hearing. Step 4, appear for the final hearing. So after they say, okay, yes, this person is definitely stalking you. You have caught them on video on your door cam, car cam, etc. Now we're going to get into some ways on proving, because I can't tell you to leave your situation. Excuse me. I'm not you. I'm not going through what you're going through, but I'm praying for you. And I hope you catch this conversation and know that you are strong enough to leave and to be in a better position, relationship, state of mind, state of life, and protect yourself. So after you appear for the final hearing, it'll be scheduled 7 days after the order is served. Side note, if a sheriff isn't going to serve, you can call someone like me or anyone on my team to serve the peace order, restraining order, protective order, whatever it's called in your state. We can serve a private processor. Most states say as long as you're 18 and over and not involved in the case, you can serve the papers. So if your daddy want to say, okay, maybe that's a bad idea because the daddy might have to beat somebody up. But if you know somebody who does that work, hit them up. If you know somebody who's willing to insert themselves and they're not involved in the case directly, they're not a witnesses of yours, they're whatever, they can serve it. So 7 days after the order is served, there will be a hearing. Both parties may be present. However, if the respondent does not attend, the judge may still grant a final order and the trial judge finds the preponderance of evidence that the respondent committed the crime, whatever, determined under law. So it could be final protective order may be granted for as long as 1 year, as short as 6 months in Maryland, maybe different other places. 1 year. If I'm getting out of a relationship and I've been in it for 10 years and this has been happening to me for 10 years, you mean every year I gotta go and petition for a protective order? The system, boy, I tell you, sometimes I'm retarded. So that's the four things. There's a lot more words on this paper, but that's basically you go to one of these district courts, circuit courts, you go to the commissioner's office, you file for it, have your evidence, and then you appear, give your evidence, answer questions, and then in 7 days you get it served. And 7 days after you get it served, there's a final hearing. Unfortunately, both parties will be present, and if it's difficult for you to see that person, you can also say that in your temporary hearing. You can also hire private security if you feel like you're going to be in danger outside of the courthouse. This is me getting into the recommendation portion of this podcast. If you are going to take the steps to get this protective order or this peace order, you can hire a private detective to get information. You can hire private security to protect you during that final court appearance if you feel like you're going to be in danger, because not every police department will actually take you as priority if it's not a real credible threat. You know, if you're not testifying against a big time drug dealer, you might not be of importance to them. But I don't know about any other security company owners, but to this security company owners, we do take cases and clients like that because you are important to us, and I take pride in slapping a mother down. So you can call me, and we have a whole tactical response team willing to take your case and provide protection through this journey that you will have to go through, because they do want both parties present for these situations. Now, there may be some lawyer that can get you a private hearing. I'm not sure. Not a lawyer. You should look into that. Um, I let my thing go. I was giving you my big spiel. That smoke is amazing. All right. All right. What will the order do for you? I'm reading this straight off court documents. Peace and protective orders are intended to protection for the petitioner and other individuals named in that order. The respondent may be ordered to stop threatening and committing abuse, stay away from the petitioner's home, place of employment, school, have no contact with the petitioner or others listed. A protective order may also award temporary use and possession of the home to the petitioner, award temporary custody of children to the petitioner, award temporary financial support. Boom. Y'all hear that? Check this out. Let me just go through them all and I'll go back to my thoughts on each one. Require the respondent to surrender all firearms and refrain from possession of firearms for the duration of the order. Award temporary possession of any pet or person eligible for relief of respondent. Order any any other relief that judgment determines necessary to protect a person eligible for relief from abuse. All right, let's go back through these one by one with my commentary. All right, stop threatening or committing abuse. Obviously, that's probably not going to work, but it's always good to have a paper trail. Now, let me tell you my reasoning for a paper trail. Because when I protect myself and react in whatever, I want it while they hauling me off in cuffs after shooting you. I want it to be known that I went to the police on this occasion, this occasion, this. I got a protective order. I did this. I had this evidence and this evidence. And this last time this person came at me, put their hands on me, did whatever, I protected myself legally under the state law. I did try to get away because in Maryland we have a duty to retreat. I did try to retreat. I did try to do this, and my last resort was pulling out my Glock 40. That's why I want a paper trail. For something that's happening maybe at work or something like that, you're being harassed, sexually harassed, whatever, and you want a protective order, you want to keep every incident, even if it's just you writing down on June 6th or June, what is it, 5th? On June 5th, 2023, he said he was going to put his hand on my leg. On June 3rd, she said she wanted to lick my chest. Like, not just in domestic violence, but in harassment and stalking and all these cases, a paper trail is really, really good. Really, really good. If you think, all right, let me hold my tongue real quick. I'm going to get off subject. All right. So, stay away from the petitioner's home, place of employment, or school. Actually, what I was about to say actually goes to this. If you feel like you're being stalked, right? Maybe by someone who you broke up with over domestic violence or just someone in general, you can hire a private detective to stalk that person. If you know the person, if you know who's doing it, you can hire a person to actually follow and document and stalk that person, because you might not be able to get proof of it, but someone else can join your team and get proof of it. Get proof of them riding by your job, sitting in your parking lot, coming by your house, etc., dropping flowers and leaving. Whatever the stalker is doing, you can hire someone out of a private detective agency, and you can then gather your proof. People not don't think that way, but you can, which also gives you a layer of protection in case this person starts to um, progress to more violent type behavior. Now you have somebody watching your back. Yes, that's going to cost money, but there is no price tag on safety. That is one of my taglines. All right. So, award temporary use and possession of the home. That means you're kicking the person who's getting accused of domestic violence out of somewhere they deem their house, which means they're going to be mad. Again, you want to have a door camera, a security system that does sound and video. Police need to hear what this person is actually saying to you, threatening you with, if they're coming, What are they saying when they're coming? Just like 2 years ago, maybe three, a guy was dropping off his kids and he went live on Facebook and he killed the mother of his children while the kids were in the car. You never know what somebody's going to do. Somebody recently said that they were kind of in between girls, two females, in a relationship having a fight. The girl showed up to the friend's house. The friend's boyfriend opened the door, and the girl showed like her firearm. And the dude said to me, "Oh well, I still let her in because she's not a threat." That was just stupid. It's stupid to think of females not a threat because you don't know what somebody's going to do. And let me tell y'all something. These what is it, Pride Month? Domestic violence and that lifestyle is crazy. So there's no such thing as this person's not a threat. Everybody's a threat. I don't care if you 8 months to 80, you a threat and I'm gonna take you down. Because you never know what somebody's going to do. You're not in their mind, you're not in their heart, and you don't know. You just don't know. So you have to take the precautionary and the preventative maintenance. So if you're getting out of a situation or you're out of a situation and that person's not over it, upset, cameras, sound and video, dog, firearm, self-defense classes, situational awareness training, de-escalation training, even though in a domestic violence situation that might not really work. But being well rounded in self preservation can never be a bad thing. Never be a bad thing. You want to know how to use your firearm, use your fist, use your mouth, use your brain, all of that. I want to know all of that. I want to know how to punch you in the nose and break it. I want to know how to snap your arm. I want to know how to efficiently use my firearm. I want to know how to talk you down and relate to you and show empathy. I want to know how to see when something's coming. I want to be a well rounded protector of myself, my family, friends, and the strangers who are around me or under my protection while I'm working. So, after you get out of a domestic violence situation, you might experience stalking. You might have to get one of these protective orders, but you need to protect yourself in all ways also. So, all right, changing up your patterns, um, changing up the way you drive home every night. Seems like a lot, but if you have the same exact routine all the time, you're not the only person that knows your routine. I know my neighbors' routine. I, I know their friends' routine. If their friends frequent this house, neighborhood, whatever, I know when they're likely to come. I know when my neighbor's likely to come on her porch and smoke a cigarette. I know when she's likely to go to her back porch instead of her front porch. I know. And if you have the same routine all the time and you're experiencing a stalker, you just got out of a domestic violence situation or a family violence situation, somebody else also knows your routine. Break it. Do something different every day. Come different way to work. Park somewhere different. Park in light. Park where there's a lot of people. Do not stay at work too late. And if you have to stay at work too late, tell one of your friends to meet you. Tell your parents to meet you. I just watched a viral video where this guy meets his daughter every single night. She has to take a late train from work. That's dedication to parenthood, but that's also preventative maintenance. And that doesn't just work on your house or your car, it works on you as well. Okay, you gotta take this train after 8 p.m., after 9 p.m. in the city. Nah, I'm gonna come meet you, baby girl. That's a dad right there. But that's something that she probably didn't think of. People think if I'm on the phone with someone, that's good enough. No, not always. If I'm a criminal, if I'm a stalker, if I'm an ex girlfriend, ex boyfriend looking to cause you harm, don't care that you're on the phone. I'm going to knock that phone out and do whatever I came to do. So having somebody there, because a lot of abusers are punks in real life, and a lot of abusers isolate their victims so that they can do whatever they want to do privately, without input, without worrying about someone stepping in. Let's talk about stepping in. I'm not telling you to get involved in a dangerous situation, but if you're a friend of a guy or a girl abusing their spouse, say something. Like, bro, come on. Like, stop, bro. That's keep your hands to yourself. Or teach them what it feels like to get hands on them. Okay, okay. Not that's me. I'm a little firecracker. Don't let the plaid shirt fool you. All right. Mm, I'm supposed to say you could give stars on my Facebook now, y'all. I don't know what stars do, but if you feel free to give stars so I could keep doing these discussion, bringing this information, and having this podcast. Facebook just sold me, so I'm telling y'all. All right. Um, People can get their children taken away due to these protective and peace orders. That is a trigger for a lot of people. That may drive somebody to the edge, to the brink. Listen, you can't be in and out. If you're going to be in, be in. If you're going to be out. Because if you play both sides of the fence, it can get you and someone else, your kids, your family, etc., hurt. Don't believe anything after you have taken this step to put a protective order, a restraining order, a peace order out. I just want to talk. Just let me in. Open the door. Those are the like most popular sayings before somebody shoots somebody. I just want to talk. Just let me in. Just open the door. And right after somebody says those things, they end up shooting their ex in themselves or the kids, because nowadays people are not sparing children. In these domestic violence situations, the kids die too. And I know it's hard to get out of these situations. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, this is not victim shaming, blaming, or me telling you what to do. But nowadays, kids die too. I'm sure it's happened before my time, obviously. But nowadays, kids are dying too. Just recently, a situation I want to say in Ohio, a girl moved from Chicago to be with her boyfriend. Things stopped being great. She had a kid and she called the police. It's a body cam footage of her, saying that he had a gun. Well, it was her gun. She took the gun. He took the gun and wouldn't give the gun back. But she also argued with the police about leaving. It was his house. The family owned every house on both sides of the block. That means she really didn't have any allies. She moved away from her family and friends, and every house on the block belonged to his family. And they know their kid. They know they're a kid. I don't care what nobody is saying. Not every house on the block is a family member, and nobody knew what was going on in that house or that relationship. No, I don't believe it. But anyway, she decided to tell the police, I I'm not leaving. I pay rent here. Let me tell you something. Forget the domestic violence. Let's forget that for a second in this story. Paying rent is not ownership. That's not ownership. You don't own a house. You don't own your space. If you're paying a car payment and you miss a car payment, they will take it. They took my car. I missed some car payments. They took it. I didn't own the car. If you're paying rent, rent is not a reason to stay in an abusive situation after you've broken up with the person and they've shown you that they are unstable enough to pull out a gun that doesn't even belong to them. She literally argued the police, and the police like, look, I'm just trying to tell you what I think you should do. I ain't gonna cry on here, but it was very sad to see the outcome. That night, that man went down in the basement and killed his ex-girlfriend and her daughter. Wasn't even his kid. He killed somebody else's child with her gun. Her mindset was like the young man's mindset about the girl. Not a threat. I don't think he really would do that. You don't know what people will do in 2023. I have definitely learned that. Now, earlier I said I was going to share a story from my past. So let me share a story from my past. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and when I was a kid, it was really bad. I had junior RA. I was walking with a cane and everything as a kid. That's a whole nother story. So I had this girlfriend, and she was okay, I'm gonna say she was a drunk. And when she would get drunk, she would get handsy, and not in a good way, right? So she would get a little handsy, little hit here, little this. There's a particular time or two where I was super sick. I was using my cane, and one time she kicked the cane from out of my hand, and I fell up the stairs. Now, at the time, I couldn't really hit her back or nothing. I was using a cane, for goodness sakes. Told one of my friends, went to stay at one of my friends' house. I wish I could say the names, but I'm not. Went to one of my friends' house. My friend said, I invited such and such over. And I'm like, oh my God, why? No, I'm trying to get out of that. Next thing I know, I hear, my friend was beating her on the steps. Not condoning violence. Not condoning violence, just telling you something from my past. As a friend or a family member of someone in domestic violence or someone in a violent situation, do what you can. I'm not condoning violence, but my friend beat her up, and that was pretty much the last that we heard of that. Now, I was young, so I wasn't really like, oh my God, I love her, we married, stuff like that. So it was a little easier for me to kind of, move on and get away from the situation or whatnot. But it's not that easy for everyone. And I do acknowledge that and understand that. And I'm not telling nobody, I'm not judging anybody for not leaving right away. Um, but I tell you this, things like that stick with your kids forever. It trains them how to be loved and it trains them how to love for real. It trains them how to be in relationships, friendships, not trust people, whatever. It really does affect the children. So, you know, if you're in a new situation, I'm going to say this, that first time that woman hits you or that man hits you and they say, I'll never do it again. That's the last time, the only time. Trust me when I say that's not true. If they do it once, they're going to do it again. I say that about cheating. If you cheat once, you're going to cheat again. For real. That's my philosophy. I'm a little, I don't know the word, but I don't nobody. I think everybody bullshit. So cheat once, cheat again, hit once, hit again. Because if that wasn't you, you wouldn't have did it. Steal once, you're going to steal again, especially if you get away with it. If you beat a girl or you beat a man and they have the tendency to talk down, the tendency to raise their hand, the tendency to cuss you out in public, grab you up, those are more than red flags. Those are like getting stabbed with the red flags. Leave before you even have to leave. Before it gets serious, before kids get involved, before rings get involved and vows get involved, leave, leave, leave in the beginning. Somebody meet you and you like got a whole career and they like, yeah, I don't want you to work. Why you don't want me to work? Somebody who gets jealous of you hanging out with your friends, hanging out with your family, going to your parents' house. Red flag, red flag, red flag. For real. These are just things to think about. You may not even know you're in an abusive relationship till you watch this episode because I had a family member who I absolutely didn't know was in an abusive relationship until I started putting two and two together. The routine, the way they lived, things they couldn't and couldn't do, things they would and wouldn't say. And it actually didn't really come to me until it affected me directly. And I was like, wait, you can't do what? And then I realized like what was going on. And I didn't insert myself to the point where it put that person in danger. But when I did get my time, see, I can't tell that story all the way through because it's somebody else's story and somebody else's business. But I can let you know that this 5'3" at the time, probably 115-pound girl got with him. I mean, got with him. I walked around with a big shiner for months and it hurt, but I was so proud because I got with him. Because you got to protect your family, your loved ones, your friends. Because if you know, when you're emotionally in something, sometimes you can't see the way out. You can't see the path beyond. Just let your friends know or your family member know that you love them and you're here for them and you'll help them in any kind of way. You can't pass judgment. And that's something I had to learn. Like, why you let him and why you? That doesn't help them leave. It makes them feel like they can't come to you. And when somebody feels like they can't come to you, you might be the last person on their list. And now they're not going to nobody. And now nobody knows what's going on. And now they're by themselves and they think they have to stay. So you have to let judgment go and just be a source of empathy, of protection, of open arms. Domestic violence isn't black and white. And I think that the people who are on the outside tend to judge, and you can't, if you are going to be someone who is going to receive someone who is dealing with or trying to get out of a domestic violence type situation. Your judgments, your thoughts, all that needs to be put on the back burner because what you think don't matter in reality. But if you love, then just show love. Just talk in love, be in love, respond with love and empathy. That's my little spiel. All right. So here are some frequently asked questions about peace orders and domestic violence stuff. Is there a deadline for filing? A petition for peace order must be filed within 30 days of the described act in the petition. So you can't backdate this. You can't say, oh, when I was with him or her, he or she did this. Um, there's no specified time frame for filing a protective order. Can criminal charges also be filed? Peace and protective orders are civil orders and are not criminal charges. So that's a good thing to talk about. If you're trying to press charges on someone, that is different than putting a restraining, protective, or peace order out on them. Those are two different things, two different processes. Okay? Do them all. All right. If you wish to file criminal charges, see a district court commissioner or a state's attorney. I've had really good luck with my state's attorney. I was in a situation, man, I was actually in a couple situations. Gay people be putting their hands on each other for real. And like, I can say it. Y'all, some of y'all might not be able to say it because it's probably mine and it seemed like y'all being bad. But I'm going to say it. The girls be putting their hands on each other. And then the next day they be back together. But the community doesn't really see it as domestic violence. But it is. Just like we see the white guys who go shoot up schools, or transgender person that just recently did it, also Caucasian, go shoot up schools, and we call them active shooters. But then your homeboy, little JJ, shot up the club, and you don't see them as an active shooter. Bah, 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 bah. Knock, knock. They are active shooters. They actively shot active shooters. So different cultures try to put different terms and different lenses, but it's all the same. If you putting your hands on your spouse, no matter the gender, it's domestic violence. And it's ugly and it's not a good look. And going right back, doing it again when you get drunk, not a good look. I know that they don't want to talk about bad stuff under the rainbow, but it's something that happens all the time. I just saw a video of some people at Pride, and they was together, fighting, beating out of each other. Domestic violence. Things that you think aren't domestic violence are actually domestic violence. Got domesticated. It's violent. Domestic violence. If he's actively shooting, he's an active shooter. So every time I see free my bro and the crime was shooting up a grocery store or shooting up a club or shooting up a corner store, active shooter. No, they should be with the rest of the active shooters. Now there's a little different. There wasn't a pre-planned, I'ma shoot this school up. I'ma shoot. They might have been shooting at a particular person, but because they don't do training and they don't know actually how to shoot, they end up shooting innocent bystanders, but it's still active shooting. So just because it's same sex and y'all fight it and make up in the morning doesn't mean you're not in an abusive relationship or you're in doing domestic violence. Yes, you are. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to shine some light, a purple and a green light, on the non-differences between those things. Another question is, do I need a lawyer to put out a restraining order, peace order, or protective order? An attorney may be helpful in advising you about your case and representing you in court. However, you are not required to have an attorney. But if you can afford it, do it. If you can afford it, definitely do it, because they know the law. And you got two hearings, the temporary hearing and the final hearing. And if you want to get charges, you want to have somebody to talk to the district attorney or talk to the commissioner. So if you can afford it, yeah. Now, let's go back to the aftermath. This is good. Look how much I got left. Let me show YouTube how much I got left over here. Let me see. Y'all can't see this transition I'm doing. But just so you know, it's good because usually I don't finish the cigar on the show. All right. After you have gotten out of a domestic violence situation, let's say y'all already lived in two different places, you never actually moved in. It is my suggestion that you move out of your current house. And I know it's easy to say, and financially, it might not be in the cards. But let's also say that they never met your parents and don't know where your parents live. If possible, move in with your parents until you're able to move into a new house. Because getting out of a violent relationship, but staying in the same house that they came and saw you at, slept with you at, hit you at, you're not out because they still have an end to you. That's something to think about. If you stay where they have frequent, what's to stop them from coming? You put a petition out, you put a court order out, it tells them to stay away. But if they really cared about the law, they wouldn't have done what they did anyway. So, as another precautionary thing, you should move. And a lot of people don't think about that. I've actually had cases where we sat on people's houses. A parent, one particular young lady's mother, hired us to sit on the house because the individual kept coming back to the house. You got to move. If you're going to leave, you unfortunately you got to leave. Now, of course, you can't really quit your job and they might know where you work, but let your job know. And I'm sure every job don't give us. McDonald's not gonna really care. Burger King not gonna really care. But you need to be cautious. So if you know your schedule, have somebody there, if or have somebody waiting. Hire security. Do whatever. Or call corporate and be like, there's a credible threat that somebody might come in here and harm other people. Now, I don't know if they're gonna fire you because you're the cause of the threat, so you got to be careful with that. But you have to take precautionary, preventative, whatever word you want to use, things. But my number one suggestion is if you were in a relationship, move. Not that you were in a domestic violence relationship and lived with the person, but if you were in a domestic violence relationship and you lived in different houses, but they frequent that house, you should move. You should move because they're going to come to that house. They're going to come. Now, depending on what level of violent they are, they might not come to your job because there's witnesses, but they will be outside your house as soon as you get home and you're going, what are you doing here? But by the time you say that, it's too late. It's too late. Mm. If you know your neighbors, let your neighbors know. It might be embarrassing, but safety is the point. Safety is what I want to drill into you, especially my black women. I was put on this earth to teach black women how to protect themselves. Period. I know my purpose. Might not say it in everything that I do, but I know it here. My purpose is to teach you, give you the tools, give you the thought process to protect yourself. There was times I couldn't protect my mom because I was so young. But when I got old enough to do so, I protected my mom no matter what I was putting myself into. And I've always been small, but I've always been feisty. Okay? And not just with a smart mouth, because the Lord is trying to deliver me from that. But I've always been like, I don't care. I'm going to get with you. If you deserve to get with, I'm going to do it. So what I'm saying to you is my purpose of this podcast, my purpose of the work I do with my company, my personal brand, is to protect Black women, is to teach you how to use firearms, teach you where to go for self-defense, teach you how to be healthy, fit, so that you can take care of yourself, your family, your kids, whatever. Knowing about the ways to deal with domestic violence before, after, during the petition to get a peace order, a protective order, a restraining order. I think they're called different things in different states. But uh, that's part of my purpose. Sorry, fixing my other camera again. I can't get my little shot right. Okay. Because there's a lot of stages to that. And I think there's a lot of things that people don't think about when they're going through this situation or their family member is going through this situation. So the biggest takeaways I want y'all to have from this conversation is when you know someone, family, friend, coworker, whatever, that's going through a domestic violence situation, it is not your place to judge. It is not your place to say, girl, I wouldn't let him do that. You don't know what you would let somebody you love and who has told you that they love you do until you're in that situation. So you need to have empathy. Empathy. In my opinion, United States, the world, whatever, absolutely lacks empathy. That's why you see so much fights on camera and beatings on camera and this, because we're like, oh, let me get it on camera. And we are just voided of empathy. Like, we're doing this and not calling 911. We're doing this and not saying stop. We're doing this and not helping. Now, I'm not telling everybody to be a super saver, you know the rest, because I tell people in my class all the time, if 7-Eleven is getting robbed and I'm in 7-Eleven, I don't care if I got 4 guns on me. If they're robbing the cashier and nobody getting hurt, I'm not saving 7-Eleven. They not about to give me Twix for life. I'm gonna just be inserting myself, maybe making the issue worse, shooting someone. That's a lot of paperwork. I don't like paperwork, so I'm not doing it. I'm gonna make sure I'm safe. Now, if it goes down, let's take the Buffalo shooting, Buffalo 10. If that, if I was in that situation, I would do everything in my ability to have stopped that or end it, especially if I was armed. But I'm going to evaluate the situation first. He had head armor on, body armor on. So you can't just shoot at something like that. You have to strategically find a shot in flesh. That's a whole nother class. Y'all see me on the range. But I told several people that most likely I would have been trying to get people out the back door, out the exit, instead of engaging with the target. So, yeah, you need to evaluate what part you can do in a situation, but don't do it with judgment, do it with empathy. And if you are someone in that situation and you've gotten out, do everything you can to document it. That's cameras on your house, ring door, actual surveillance cameras with sound and video. And one thing I forgot earlier, recording ability, which means it's not just ring doorbells record, but some surveillance cameras, they're just surveillance cameras and they don't record, which means you can have the MP3 or the MP4 or whatever to give to the police. Make sure it has all those capabilities. Amazon got everything. Because, like I said in this chart, there's a lot of things that you have to prove to even get the judgment against the individual. You can't just go on and say somebody's stalking me. You got to prove it. I don't know how you're going to do that. It's weird, but it's weird that they make you prove stalking. Um, yeah, look at that. It's time to take off the ban. I keep my bands, by the way. I got something special. People keep their bands and they like make tables or make this. I got something crazy I'm about to do with all these bands. It's a big jar up there full of bands. Um, so you just want to do everything you can. My biggest suggestion, especially to females, is after you get out of a domestic violence situation and you guys lived apart, move. Most of the situations I see, they come to your house afterwards. Even after you get that petition, that order, they still come to your house. Move. Don't tell anybody where you move to. If you can't move, try to go with your parents. If you can't do that, switch up your schedule at work. If you always work night shift or late shift, tell your job you have to work morning shift. Confuse the individual. Confusion works. Some of these people I deal with on a regular basis get confused. So I know it will work when you purposely confuse, because some of these people I deal with just be confused on their own. And I'm not even trying to confuse them. But if you trying and you purposely confuse somebody, switching up your schedule, switching up the way you come to work, switching up where you park, switching up your self-care days, anything that was what am I trying to say? A routine in your relationship, break it. It is no longer your routine. If you went to the nail salon every Monday at 2 p.m., you no longer can go to that nail salon and or at that time. All these things matter in a domestic violence situation, especially after you have documented, taken it to court, called the police. You need to do everything in your power to protect yourself in all ways, always. hmm Let me see. Let me see what else is on my notes. So the question earlier was, could a married person, man or woman, rape their spouse? Yes. If I'm married to you and I say no, our marital vows, and just because it's in our marital home, in our marital bed, don't mean you're allowed to take it, man or woman. I'm being politically correct here. Rape is rape. Let me see. We're gonna do another definition time. I'm here to school y'all. So the Google definition of rape: unlawful sexual intercourse or any other sexual penetration of the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person with or without force. Let me get into the with or without. That means they don't have to hit you. They don't have to throw you, punch you, whatever. It can be with or without force. It could be saying, listen, it could be saying a facial expression. When I was a kid, I was scared of my dad's facial impression, expression. I'm sorry. I was scared when my dad took the belt and snapped it. He didn't even have to hit me. I knew what that meant. And if you're already in an abusive relationship and a look, a word, a phrase lets you know I'm not playing with you, it can still be considered rape. If you're saying no, if you're saying I don't want to, if you're saying please stop, that's still rape. So if you hear those words, you are still committing a crime. It doesn't matter if they're married to you. That's domestic violence too. That's rape too. You can press charges. A ring on your finger doesn't allow someone to do things to you that are unethical, that are abusive, that's unmoral, whatever. Yeah, yeah, for real. It's a heavy topic, but I think if I'm actually going to dive into my dying last words, which would be always protect yourself, then I really need to dive into it on this podcast. And in my industry, I see a lot of things, especially in the private sector. I know police see all kinds of, so if I see stuff in the private sector, just imagine what police and detectives and Law and Order SUV see on a regular basis. So I just wanted to bust up some myths, um, talk about protective and police orders and domestic violence, and give the domestic hotline. Um, Again, the violence hotline 1-888-7888-7884. National Domestic Violence Hotline 1-800-799-SAFE. Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence 1301-429-3610 or 1-800-MD Helps. Now let's talk about firearms. After you've gotten out of this domestic violence situation, you're at home, you're by yourself, man or woman, politically correct. I'm not telling you to shoot the individual, but I'm telling you to do what you feel is comfortable to make yourself feel comfortable. That could be taking MMA, kickboxing, having cameras, getting a dog, not a little shih tzu dog, not a little dog you hold in your butt, a Doberman, a canine, something that's going to alert you to an intruder and bite the out of the intruder. Some dog that is trained to protect you because it loves you and also you trained it to do so. And then we have firearms. Now, here's why I skipped all the other tools and went right to a firearm. A firearm is the only self-defense tool that screams equality. I'm 5'3". There's not a lot of people that I come at that I'm actually equal to. Now, up here, I think I am, but I'm 5'3", 150 pounds. Okay, 160, but I am losing weight. Can't tell in the neck area. But it's the only equalizer between a man and a woman. Because just because I can fight doesn't mean I can necessarily knock this guy out. When I got that shiner protecting someone, I definitely wasn't equal to that man. He was like 6'2", big dude. But the heart in me, like, I'm 6'2". I'm a big dude. So, that's a little different. But if there's someone who is bigger than you and you're afraid of, the only equalizer is a firearm. I am not saying shoot someone or shoot just because you were and as soon as you see them you shoot. I'm not saying none of that. I'm not condoning none of that. Self-defense only. Legally explainable self-defense is what I'm talking about. The disclaimer. I want you doing nothing crazy and then saying Jasmine told me to do this on her podcast. So I could go back to this in court and be like, I gave them a disclaimer. But I'm saying it's the only equalizer because you can use pepper spray or mace. You can use a stun gun is usually what people have, but a knife, a bat, all that stuff. You know what the difference between all that stuff and a gun is? Closeness. I'm short. I gotta be close to you to stab you. I gotta be close to you to swing the bat. I have to be close to you to stun gun you. I have to be close to you to pepper spray you. I don't want to be close to you. You come in my house, you threatening my life, you coming at me. I don't want to wait till you get to me. Now, if you coming at me and you've already threatened me, I already have that. What is it? What do I gotta prove? An act that placed the petitioner in fear of imminent harm. Okay. He said he was gonna kill me, and now he's running at me. She said she was gonna kill me, and now she's running at me. I can put that in a statement. I can explain that. My lawyer can explain that. But with a taser, a bat, a knife, or whatever, you gotta wait till that person actually get to you. I actually had to go to court for a baton. It's expandable, but you can't just throw it at somebody. They have to come to you. They have to whatever. So I had to go to court. The guy tried to sue me and the company and the store that I worked at because I shattered his elbow with my baton. But you threatened me and you came at me and you put your hand towards me or on my shoulder and I swung it and put you down. And basically that's what I said on the stand. And as you can see, I'm here today in my little plaid blue shirt. So that works. So you have to have a reason. You have to be able to explain it. You have to be able to prove it. It was on camera on my part. So at that moment, a gun wasn't necessary. I was in fear of being hit and my gun being taken and used against me and other people. Wasn't necessarily afraid of losing my life at that moment. So I chose a different non-lethal way than a lethal way. But if you break up with someone who was already beating on you and they show up to your house unannounced, break in the door, threaten you, I can't have you, no one can, I'm gonna die, you gonna die, you do have reason to be afraid for your life. And if you got cameras, see, a lot of people make the mistake of having only cameras outside their house. You should have cameras inside your house. Now, of course, not in a bathroom or bedroom. I'm weird. I want one in my car. I had one in an old car that I had. Need to get a new one. One in my bedroom. If you're the only one watching the feed, then why not? If you just got out of a domestic violence situation, you should have camera in every room. Especially if you're afraid of this person coming for you, stalking you, breaking in your house. I don't want to explain. I want you to watch the video. That's my philosophy. I tell my officers the only way to protect yourself for real is to have it on video. My process servers, they video their encounters. Speaking of process server, let me switch it up real quick. You guys can get peace orders and protective orders and restraining orders over people who get a little irate when you serve them, because when you sign the paperwork and it goes to court, they might get a copy of that and your information is on the bottom of that affidavit. So what I do is I don't put my actual address. I don't put my actual phone number. I use a 1-800 number. I use an email and I use a P.O. box. And sometimes, most of the time, I don't use my full name. I say Private Detective Lee. That's something I had to learn a year into the game, though, because I did have an individual who was upset about being served, called the law office asking for my information, trying to get it from the court, etc. So, I just wanted to throw that out there while we were talking about peace orders and protective orders, process servers, private detectives that sign legal documents that may be given to the defendant. You can also get one of those orders out if you start to get harassed by someone you served. Don't worry, I'll make some content about that. Whoop, it's Lord, I've been talking to y'all. It's 8:53. I've been talking to y'all for a long time. But anyway, that's my little domestic violence spill. It's not a game. It's serious, and it happens more and more and more each year. It is hard to get out of. It is hard to witness, and it's hard to be family to someone going through it, friends to someone going through it. But if you're family or friends to someone doing it, bro, you got an obligation to intervene however it is you can intervene without getting yourself hurt, talking to them, reporting them. And I know I don't get involved in domestic violence stuff of strangers because men or women, gotta be politically correct, they don't want to press charges. Don't hurt them. Don't take him. I don't want to press charges. Leave him alone. Get off him. Like, bro, I just watched him punch you. I'm just jumping in to save you. So I don't do that no more. I did that once and it didn't really work out for me. So I don't do it no more. But I have empathy. I give them the look like, you good? And they just, they just be like, no, you got to respect that. People going to leave when they can, when they want, when they're fed up, when they have the courage, but you can't force that. As a family member or a friend, you can't force it. All you can do is have empathy. Yeah. So, if there's no questions, that's wrapping up my domestic violence spiel for this day. I came prepared. I had a little notes, a little printout. I gotta say, my coffee was great. It's really hot, and it's too hot to be drinking coffee, but I did it anyway. And this cigar was really good. Really good. My new camera, really good. It's like 5K Dell camera. If you go to YouTube, you can see the difference. My new mic headset, really love it. I love my other mic, but it was like in my face. And I didn't really like that. She fires. You're welcome. Now let's talk about firearms again. You will not be able to protect yourself if you have a firearm and you don't train with it. You don't know how to load it. You don't know how to hold it. You don't know how to aim it. You still scared to shoot it. That 1 second of hesitation could cost you your life in a situation that you already know is going to end badly because you just got out of a domestic violence situation. When you get this firearm as self-protection, to protect you, your kids, or if you don't have kids, just you, take time. If you go to brunch, you could go to the range. Now, let me not be the kettle, whatever the saying is. I don't go to the range as much as I should be, but I am now putting working out on my schedule, going to the range on my schedule at least once a week. Starting this week, it's Monday, so I think I'm going on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And I think I'm going to make Tuesdays my range days because Tuesdays and Thursdays are my gym days, and the rest of the days I work at home. I work out at home. I just got me a weight bench, y'all. I already had a boxing thing. If you watch my stories, you've seen I'm like, yeah, my hook real good for real. But anyway, you gotta make time to practice with this tool that you expect to save your life. That hesitation, boom, I'm gonna grab it. Let me tell you a funny story real quick. Not a domestic violence story. I was in a situation, can't really talk about the situation or give details. Father came, my father's a police officer, my father came, my father was like, bruh, you gotta stop this or you will get both of us fired. I'm like, no, blah, blah, blah. Can't tell you what happened. That man took my gun, my duty belt off me so fast, so quick. I didn't even know what hit me. Now, he might be trained to do that, but someone else might just be able to do that to you with their adrenaline, with their anger, with their force. So you need to train with the tool you're going to, and don't pull a firearm that you are not going to use. You are not the police. Stop. Put your firearm down. This is the Dayton County Police. They got to say that stuff for their legalese. Now you can say, don't make me use this. Alright. But if that person already bop, 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 trying to stab you, whatever, of course you're not gonna take time, because the hesitation, they could just bop, take it off you and now use the gun on you. So don't pull out a gun that you're not trained or ready or know how to use. Go to the range. And don't just go to the range, get training. And then go to the range and practice what you learned in your training. Practice comes after training. Training first, then practice. Then survival. That's how it go. Don't go survival. Now, you do hear stories of people. I just saw a story of an 82-year-old lady beating a robber to death that broke into her house. A young man broke into her house. She picked up a table and beat him with the table. And then the police had to come get him off the floor. Now, full disclosure, she was like the oldest award-winning weightlifter, 82. Training, practice, survival. Training, practice, survival. That's what I'm going to leave y'all with. Y'all didn't listen to anything I said tonight. Training, practice, survival. YouTube, I think this made up for y'all not being able to hear me for the first 5-10 minutes. Training, practice, survival. If you don't remember nothing I said, remember that. If you're leaving a domestic violence situation, tell someone. Document it. Get your protective restraining order. Put this on paper. Fortify your house. Move. Take extra precaution at work. Hire security. Hire a private detective if you're being stalked. There's a lot of things you can do to help with this process of transition. And for those who are watching who has survived or gotten out of the situation, I'm proud of you and I love you. And if you need someone to talk to, train with, I'm here. For those of you that are watching or listening and you're in a situation and you want to get out, I hope something I said has sat in your mind and helped you with the decision. Gave you good advice. I hope I gave you good advice. I hope I gave you some ideas. And I'm still proud of you. And I still love you. And I'm still here for you. And you can inbox me and I can help you get to the proper channels. Whether you're trying to disappear, whether you're trying to leave, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. You can call those hotline numbers. You can hit me up, DM, inbox, and I will try to get you help. And I'm proud of you for even staying on the podcast, watching and listening. And you are strong enough and you are worth enough. And you don't deserve it. Nothing you say and or do deserves for you to be harmed. And that's it. That's Industry Talk Podcast. Make sure y'all tune in next Monday, 7 p.m. Same time, same place, same beautiful host, different cigar.